Welcome to the conference championship special of the college football junkies. My name is Mark, my co-host Montana to my left. What a college football season that we've had. It's kind of a bummer that it's almost done already. But hey, we've got playoff football coming up, and a lot of these games are going to help solidify the bracket to get us on the road to the national championship. First game we've got, it's going to be a really good one. Number 20 UNLV versus number 10 Boise State. The cool thing about the Mountain West Championship is that it actually gets played at the home field of the highest ranked team in the Mountain West. So it'll be played at Boise. You know that stadium is going to be absolutely rocking tonight for Boise State. It's kind of a must win for Boise State, at least, to get into the playoff. And it's a must win for UNLV if they want a chance to get into the playoff. What are your takes on this one? This is going to be a great game.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely there's a lot of playoff implications and just conference respect implications. And these are, the best two teams in the conference by far. We've seen the Mountain West be maybe thought of as a lower tier conference, but I think especially a team like Boise State has proven that they're a super exciting conference to watch and pay attention to. One thing I will say is I saw UNLV live against Hawaii a couple of about a month ago, possibly now, and they were a super all over the place team. I mean, they had two blocked punt touchdowns that they returned that got called back, almost a couple of drives apart. So they still beat Hawaii by, I think it was a touchdown or a little bit less.
2 points.
2 points, way less than a touchdown. I did not stay until the end, as you can tell. But I will say, if UNLV plays a polished Boise State team like they played Hawaii, I don't see them being able to keep up. But since that game against Hawaii, they have much improved how they've played football. I've watched a little bit of their games since, and they have looked like a far better football squad. So the football team that we're seeing now and not the football team from early November, I really think will have a chance to make it a game. That being said, give me Boise State. I think Boise State wins it. You said it best. One of the advantages is it's played at the team with the team that's the highest rank, or the team that has the best record, and that's obviously Boise State. I don't want to say they blew through the conference with ease, but I mean, look at their record. Look at their conference record. They definitely handled business. And this is a super important game because they are the underdogs. If they get in, they are the underdogs by a long shot, by quite a bit. But even just getting in, being in the Mountain West Conference, that's a big deal. Getting in one of those smaller conferences, that is a big deal. So they're playing for a lot, and I think we'll see Boise State play like they're playing for something big. So I think Boise State wins. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do think UNLV is going to show up. Give me Boise State winning. I'm going to say by 11, 35-24. Give me Boise State 35-24 in a really exciting game, but I think Boise State takes control late and wins the game.
I like that pick a lot. You break down, like say the quarterback matchup. Two really good quarterbacks in the Mountain West, easily top two of the top ones in the Mountain West, and Williams and Madsen. Williams for UNLV. Really good all year, 132 for 206, 1,735 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 4 picks. And then you got Madsen on Boise, who had quite the year himself, 206 for 334, 2,556 yards, 21 touchdowns to 3 picks. Running the ball easily leans toward Boise State with Gianti. 312 carries for almost 2,300 yards and 28 touchdowns. He put up some video game numbers this year in the regular season, and I don't expect it to stop tonight. I think he's probably bound for another 150-plus yard running game. And you look on the other side of Thomas, 140 carries, 836 yards, and 7 touchdowns. The only thing is UNLV has the advantage as far as receivers go. White the third has 75 receptions for 1,020 yards and 11 touchdowns. He's easily one of the more electric playmakers in the country at the wide receiver position. And then you go over to the other side with Boise. Camper has 51 receptions, 811 yards, 4 touchdowns, so not too shabby. You break down their last 5 games, you said it best. UNLV has played some of their best football in the last month. And they did play Boise at the end of October, lost 29-24 in a thriller. But Boise needs no introduction. They've pretty much run through their entire conference as a whole. Their only loss right now is a close loss to Oregon. And, man, that's looking like a really good close loss right now because Oregon's really taking care of business. We'll touch on them in a little bit. This is going to be a good one. I saw that comment pop up. UNLV wins by a field goal. I could definitely see that happening. Right now, I have this game as a coin flip. This game can really go either way. It just depends on how Boise State will play UNLV's wide receivers because they're a passing team through and through. They can run the ball when they want to too. So I like Boise, but I'm going to go UNLV in this one by a field goal too. So I'm going to go with that comment, 27-24. And I think that knocks Boise State, unfortunately, out of the playoff. It might move UNLV into position, though. So it's very possible.
Man, that would be crazy. But, hey, I can see that happening because, again, UNLV, the one game I saw them live, obviously, was not their best. I think that was one of their worst games of the season just with how they played. It was just a super messy game. But, I mean, you made a great point. Their wide receivers, absolutely you have that advantage. And that was one area where you, even with the score being so close in that Hawaii UNLV game, Hawaii could not stop those receivers. Those receivers are dangerous. That core is really talented. And UNLV, I honestly think is an even, I mean, their record is solid, but I think they're an even better team than what their record shows. I think that they're going to keep it close. Obviously, I have an 11-point game. That's a little bit of separation, but I think it could be a coin flip. And I think if Boise State doesn't show up, or if UNLV just does show up with a little more intensity, we've got ourselves a game that could go down to the wire. And if we're talking about a game being won by a field goal, if we're talking about a last drive or a last few minutes, when you have a quarterback that has those reliable receivers, they'll get you down the field, set you up for a field goal. So that is a really good reason that they could make that happen right there, is get yourself set up with a few good passes or just a few good plays and then go for that field goal. So it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't mind seeing an OT game. I don't know if this will be that one, but I wouldn't mind seeing an OT game for one of these conference games. I don't think it'll be this one, but we never know.
We never know. And the early spread on this UNLV Boise State game, Boise State's favored by 4 points, so they are giving them the home field advantage. But as we saw probably about 5 weeks ago, UNLV really put up a fight against Boise State. It was a really good game. So I expect nothing less. Either way, it's definitely a must-win for both teams if they want to have a shot at the playoff. Boise State will choke, and Ashton will only rush for 78 to 90 yards. He has yet to show that this year. That's the thing.
I mean,
he's constantly run over 100 yards.
That's insane. The consistency of that is impressive. So I don't know if I can agree with that one. I can kind of agree with the field goal one. I can see that happening, but maybe he's held to right under or right at 100, but I don't think we're going to see that happen. I don't think UNLV defense can stop him.
The last time these two teams played, Ashton Gianti, he ran for, I believe, 160 yards.
Ooh, man, that's not a good sign for the old defense then.
Yeah, so
they're playing better football than we will say. Did you say they played in October?
Yeah.
They are playing better football, but still, Boise State is a different animal when it comes to the rushing. So
one of the best rushing teams in the country right now, bar none.
Easily.
They've got the top running back. I mean, 28 touchdowns, almost 2,300 yards. It is one of the best seasons a running back has ever had in college football history.
Easily.
Like, it's crazy. Moving on to the American Athletic Championship, we've got another pretty good game on tap. Tulane, who's sitting at 9-3, goes to Army, number 24 Army, 10-1. This is going to be an interesting chess match. Tulane, they like to throw the ball. Army loves to run the ball. Tulane's quarterback Mensa, 172 for 262, 2,514 yards, 20 touchdowns, only 5 picks. You look at Army, 43 of 76. They've only passed the ball 76 times this year. 860 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. You look at running. Hughes for Tulane. They can run the ball too. 243 carries, 1,306 yards, 15 touchdowns. Then you look at Army. Their quarterback is their leading rusher. 239 carries, 1,354 yards, and 25 touchdowns. Receiving, Williams, 48 receptions for 831 yards and four touchdowns. Reynolds for Army, 17 receptions, 417 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Both of these teams have totally different game plans going in. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's going to be a good game. I think we're going to see another game. I think they're going to offset each other. Like you said, they've got 2 different game plans, 2 different strengths. And I think we're going to see some offsetting of that. And I think we're going to see a great football game. What I will say is I think both teams are definitely equipped for this matchup. But if I'm picking a team right now that I think is more equipped and ready for it, I'm going with Army. Army obviously sitting at 10-1. I mean, you said it best. These are 2 teams with 2 different attack plans and 2 different plans in general. I think Army is going to be more well prepared. I think Army also is battle tested. Now, that does not mean Tulane is not battle tested, but I think Army definitely is battle tested and ready for this matchup. So give me Army beating Tulane in an extremely close matchup. I think this game, I don't think it's going to be the highest scoring matchup. I think we're going to see some defensive flair, and I think we're going to see some stops. I think we'll see some frustration early on both sides maybe of getting things going, but I think we're going to see Army pull it off by a 1 touchdown win, 28-21. I think it's going to be capped below 30. Could it go above 30? Yes. Could Tulane end up flipping the script and being on top? Possibly, if they get a couple of good looks that Army does not. But I've got Army because of the top to bottom consistency of their football team and their battle to end. I do believe they're more battle tested, and I just think Tulane is going to have a hard time stopping their offense. I think if we're looking at which offense is going to be harder to stop, I think it's going to be Army. I think they're going to figure it out and expose some weaknesses of Tulane. So give me Army winning by 1 score. It's not a blowout. It's not a game that's going to be super separated. I think it's going to end in the 4th quarter. So that's my take. What about you, bro?
I like Tulane in this one. Tulane is the current they're a 5-point road favorite going into this game. I love Tulane's playmakers. They are extremely electric when throwing the ball. Army is good. I don't think they've got the athletes on the outside to keep up with the wide receivers of Tulane. Give me Tulane by 14 points. Give me Tulane 35-21. I think it's going to be a game. I think Tulane pulls away late.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I can definitely see one of the teams is going to take control of the game, and I think it's going to be later in the game. And could it be Tulane? Absolutely. I think we're going to see a competitive. These 2 games tonight, these games that are taking, I believe there's only 2 tonight. These 2 games tonight are what a way to start our conference championship weekend, because I think we're going to see, I mean, we both said it right here and right now. We're looking at 2 pretty close games, and even if your prediction is what it ends up shaking out to be. I still think it'll be close until that second half / third, fourth, and then whatever team finds separation, finds separation. So I think I've got Army, but again, I can totally see it going both ways because these are two teams with, like you said, two completely different plans, and it's going to be interesting to see which can expose the other defense more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think Tulane can set themselves up to stop Army's run attack. The only thing that I worry about with Army is being able to stop things through the air, not Army by 60. That would be kind of crazy. But like Tulane, they could stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
The only question mark with Army, will they be able to stop Tulane from throwing the ball all over the place like they've done all year long? And Tulane's had a history of having pretty good quarterbacks, pretty good wide receivers on the outside. I think both teams will get their yards sometimes in bunches, but I'm going to give the advantage to Tulane because you just look at the game against Notre Dame for Army. Notre Dame exposed Army in a pretty big way, and I think Tulane could use some of that game plan when it comes to this game going up against Army tonight. And this game is kind of a de facto must-win for Army if they want a chance to get into the playoff or have any sort of chance at it. So should be fascinating to watch tonight. I'll definitely be keeping tabs on both games to see which of our predictions is a little closer. But yeah, moving on to Saturday at 11 a.m. right away, we've got number 16 Iowa State making their first Big 12 championship appearance, going up against number 15 Arizona State, also their first Big 12 championship appearance. How about some of these first-year schools in new conferences? I mean, we're going to be talking about Oregon here in a little bit, how they ran the table in the Big 10. Arizona State had quite the year in the Big 12, finishing 10-2 going in, and they were picked borderline last going into this season. Nobody gave Arizona State a shot in the wind to do anything. This is going to be another fascinating game to watch. Right now, Arizona State's a 1.5 point favorite. And it's practically a pick 'em going to ESPN's FPI predictor. The over-under is currently set at 49.5. Rattle off some of the stats. Rocco Becht for Iowa State, 228 for 385, 3,021 yards, 20 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. And then Levitt for Arizona State, 180 for 287, 2,444 yards, 21 touchdowns to 5 picks. Go to the rushing side of the ball. This is where the biggest difference lies. Hansen for Iowa State, 125 for 618 yards, 11 touchdowns. Scatabo for Arizona State, 247 carries for almost 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns. You look on the receiving side of the ball, though, it's pretty close matchup. Higgins for Iowa State, 80 receptions, 1,068 yards, 9 touchdowns. Tyson for Arizona State, 75 receptions for 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. So this is a very close matchup. Arizona State's got that rushing edge, but both teams can throw the ball all over the yard. Both of these teams have pretty prolific playmakers. Give me your thoughts on this one. I think this is going to be another great one.
I think this could be one of the best ones, possibly. You could say that about so many of these, if not all of them. I feel very confident that none of these conference championships will end in a blowout. And have we seen a bunch of conference championships end in blowouts before? No, but there's definitely been some. And as of recent, we've seen some teams get the work done to them. I don't think that's going to happen to any team this go around. What I will say is this: Iowa State, disappointing loss to Texas Tech, couple disappointing performances, even if they ended up pulling them off as a win. They had some disappointing moments in some decently big games. Arizona State, You couldn't have said it any better. They were predicted to be one of the worst teams in that conference, and they are now sitting in the championship game. And not only are they sitting in it, this is no fluke. They belong there. That coach has coached them up, and they look like a team that not only could compete for a conference championship, but could be a playoff team if they had that ranking right. So Arizona, I'm giving this to Arizona State. I think when you were reading off the stats, you couldn't, I mean, it is such a close game where one team has one advantage, but the other team has this one right there. I mean, they're so close. You called it best earlier. You called UNLV winning by a field goal. I'm going to throw my field goal prediction out. Give me Arizona State winning. Give me 31-28. 31-28 winning by a field goal. I think I've got to give it to them. I think they're going to have success throughout the entirety of the game, and we've seen Iowa State be very shaky in moments, and I think Arizona State will take advantage of that. I don't think it's going to be a game though where Arizona State goes in for the kill and gets it early and starts leading by 2-3 touchdowns. I think it's going to be back and forth. We might even see Iowa State lead. I could see Iowa State leading early. I really could, but I think Arizona State, they're more consistent, and I think they're going to have that nice, relaxed last drive to get that field goal and win the game. So give me Arizona State, but it will not be a blowout. It will be an absolute battle, in my opinion, no matter what happens.
Give me the Fighting Cyclones of Iowa State in this one. I really like what they have done as of late. They took care of business against Cincinnati. Like, after the two difficult losses that they had up against Texas Tech, which is the game I went to, and then they got demolished against Kansas. They've come out and played some pretty good football. They whooped up on Cincinnati at home. They went to a tough environment in Utah, came out with a 3-point win, and then they took care of business against Kansas State. You look at Arizona State in the last 5 games. They went to Oklahoma State, took care of business by 21 points. They played at home against UCF, which is a very tricky team to play up against. Beat them by 4, 35-31. They took care of business at Kansas State, 24-14. They played at home against BYU, beat them by 5. And then they finished off the season in a rivalry game against Arizona and beat them 49-7. Should have been Colorado. That's why there's tiebreakers, man. So yeah, it's Colorado had quite a year. I'm not gonna down them at all. Honestly, that makes that Nebraska win it was a very good win at the time because Colorado turned it on. When they got in the Big 12 season, they were almost an unstoppable force. They almost got into the Big 12 championship. It was a 4-way tie at the top. But going back to this game, Arizona State showed a little bit more consistency in the last 5 games of the season. But I like Iowa State's playmakers. Give me Iowa State in this one, 28-24. I think this is going to be close to the end. And I wouldn't really expect anything less from a game with two teams so evenly matched. It's going to be one of the closer games of the weekend for sure.
Absolutely no. Definitely, whichever way it goes, it's going to be close, and neither one of these teams is going to let up on the other team. And I would be shocked if we saw this game be separated by, honestly, even a full 7. I think it could be separated by 7, but I think we're looking at 7 or under with that separation for the final score.
Absolutely. Moving on to 3 p.m. tomorrow on ABC, another stunning game. Number 5 Georgia playing up against number 2 Texas, who's in their first year in the SEC. This is kind of a theme right now. And right now, Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Georgia has took care of business earlier in the season when they went to Austin, Texas, beat Texas by 15 points. This is going to be interesting. The question is, uh, Quinn Ewers, I don't believe is going to play. I think it's going to be Arch Manning. Arch Manning has put up some pretty good numbers from the backup spot. Um, but rattling off stats. Carson Beck for Georgia, 283 for 435, 3,429 touchdowns, 28 touchdowns, a little bit more turnover prone this year with 12 interceptions. You move over to Texas, Quinn Ewers, 206 for 306, 2,307 yards, 24 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Running the ball, Frazier for Georgia, 123 carries, 587 yards, 8 touchdowns. Wisner for Texas, 157 carries for 812 yards, 3 touchdowns. Moving on the receiving side, the two top receivers, Smith for Georgia, 42 receptions for 709 yards, 4 touchdowns. Helm for Texas, 48 receptions, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Both of these teams are pretty closely matched. One of these teams has looked a little bit better in their last 5 games. Georgia in their last 5, they played Florida. That game was closer than the score looked. Florida really made it close against Georgia. Georgia ultimately won 34-20. They then went to Ole Miss, lost by 18 points, 28-10. They took care of business against Tennessee. They had a cupcake game in UMass, and UMass made that game a little bit more interesting than I thought in that first half. That was kind of crazy. And then that crazy game against Georgia Tech, 8 overtimes. Georgia Tech looked like they were going to win it. Georgia came out and pulled it out. You look at Texas in their last 5 games. They went to Vanderbilt, beat them 27-24, avoided an upset bid there. They whooped up on Florida, which that's looking like a really good win as of late. Florida is playing some really good football. Texas beat them 49-17. They went to Arkansas, took care of business, beat them 20-10. They played Kentucky at home, took care of business, won 31-14. And then the return of the Texas A&M Texas rivalry was last week, and Texas took care of business. The score looks a little closer than the game actually was. Texas really took care of business at Kyle Field, and won 17-7. I'm going to give Texas the edge today or tomorrow. I think Texas is going to come out with revenge after their game earlier in the season against Georgia. Give me Texas in this one, 31-24.
I like that. And as a matter of fact, I'm very close to giving the exact same prediction, which so far today we've been doing a good job of being different takes on the game. So one of us is going to be right. That's all that matters. This one, though, we're either both going to be right or we're both going to be wrong. I'm going with Texas. Texas, you read it off. They have played way better football. They are not the same team that got beat before. They're not that same team. They look improved. They look better. They look polished. Sometimes it takes a team, even a talented team that stays in the top 10 the whole season. Sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to really show just how great they are. And all that matters is that you show it at the right time. I don't care what you do week 1. What matters is what you do towards the end of the season / if you are lucky enough to be in a conference championship or the playoffs. That's when it matters. It's a reset. They're 0-0. I mean, they're 0-0 now. Honestly, it's 0-0. And this is a huge game for both teams. Give me Texas. I think Texas, I gave an 11-point separation earlier in my first prediction. I'm going to give another one, and it's going to be the exact same score. Give me 35-24. Texas takes care of business. I think we're going to see Georgia collapse in the third quarter. I think we're going to see it either collapse in the third quarter or not wake up until the third quarter. They've done both. They've either started really slow and then woken up, and it's either – they've pulled it off against some teams. They're not going to be able to pull that off against Texas. Or they fizzled out. I think it's going to be they fizzle out, but we've seen both. For a team as prestigious as Georgia and with it not so a terrible record, not even close. But we've seen the collapses even in games they've won, and Texas is not going to be a team. If Texas plays how they've played the last 5 games, they're not going to take that. They're going to take that and they're going to turn it into a touchdown and then another touchdown. They're not going to take it lying down. So I got Texas by 11. I think they take care of business.
I like that a lot. And Georgia, they're 10-2, but they're a team full of inconsistencies. They fell behind early against Georgia Tech. That they were behind in that game until the very end. Georgia Tech almost pulled it out.
That game was crazy.
And you look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss dominated from start to finish against Georgia. They just couldn't figure anything out. This is not the best Georgia team that we've seen. This is not the Georgia team that's won back-to-back national championships.
Not even.
Like those teams were the excelling mark in consistency. They were easily the best team, bar none, in the country. And this year, there's a reason why they've got 2 losses. You could probably argue they should probably have 3, maybe 4 losses this year. But Georgia's talent ultimately pulled out at the end. So, yeah, I think Texas, they're going to come out with a vengeance in this one. They're going to want to make a statement in their first ever SEC title game. And they want to set themselves up for a first-round bye in the playoff.
Oh, man. Anyone wants that that's going in there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I like Texas in this one. I think they're just a little bit more consistent than Georgia. The only question mark with Texas is Quinn Ewers is not playing. But Arch Manning has come in and he's made a little bit of noise himself. Yeah. So yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, no. Well, to your point really quick, Arch Manning is extremely flashy, like super flashy and super. When he's played, we've seen flashes of he's going to be that starting quarterback. And before he leaves, I think he could win a national championship. Maybe that's this year. But one thing I will say, the one thing I was going to say quick, this is the worst Georgia and the worst Alabama team we've seen in a couple of years, I would say. I would say both of them are by far – and I don't know. I mean, maybe not so much. I'd say Georgia's definitely, in my personal opinion. I mean, obviously they have less losses than Alabama, but those 2 teams, they obviously haven't fallen off. They're both still in playoff talks, and honestly, we might end up seeing both of them in the playoffs. But I think this is by far the most this is just for who they've missed, and even just last season, we're not going to see either of these teams be in the semifinals of the playoffs. I don't think so. That's my hot take, just random throw in.
Well, and you go back to earlier in the season, Georgia struggled mightily against a now 4-8 Kentucky team. That was ugly. 13-12. It was a brutal game to watch. Bama winning it all. I don't see that happening.
That would be insane. I don't
see Bama winning it.
There'd be a script involved if that happens. There's no way.
Bama has been so inconsistent this year too. There's a reason why they're 5-3 in the conference, 9-3 overall. They really should not be in the playoff conversation after their loss to Vanderbilt.
Agreed. They really should. Other teams are more deserving.
At the time, Vanderbilt looked like one of the better teams in the SEC, but they quickly fell off, and they're 6-6. They're 2-6 in the conference, or 3-5 in the conference. So theoretically, Alabama should not even be in the playoff conversation. It should be somebody else. But they're going to get in, and they're probably going to get bounced in the first round. That's how it's going to be. I think the same can go for Georgia. I think if Georgia loses and they miss out on a first-round bye, I think Georgia could easily get bounced by whomever they play in the first round. I've seen a few predictions that Georgia plays Indiana. or Georgia could play Ohio State. And I think Ohio State this year could take down this Georgia team. I really do. I think Ohio State's been a little bit more consistent. We'll see when the final rankings come out on Sunday, and we'll see where everybody, lies in the playoff order. It should be fascinating to watch that show Sunday afternoon. Moving on to the next game, the Big Ten championship. Number 3 Penn State goes and plays number 1 Oregon. Like I said, it's a theme. Oregon, first year in the Big Ten, they come through and run the table. 12-0. Penn State's 11-1. This is a top 3 matchup. Could arguably be one of the best games this weekend. I don't think we're going to be without great games all weekend. I think all these teams are pretty closely matched. Rattling off the stats. Drew Aller for Penn State, 204 for 285, 2,668 yards, 18 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Dylan Gabriel has put together himself a phenomenal year at quarterback. 275 or 275 for 374, 3,275 yards, 24 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. He's likely played his way to New York City to be one of the finalists for the Heisman this year. You look at the rushing stats. Singleton for Penn State, 121 carries, 733 yards, 7 touchdowns. James for Oregon had quite the year himself. 206 carries for 1,166 yards and 13 touchdowns. You look at the receiving side of things. Both teams have prolific receivers. Warren for Penn State, 81 receptions for 978 yards, 6 touchdowns. You look at Johnson for Oregon, 67 receptions for 685 yards, 9 touchdowns. This game is going to be really close. I think we're in for, a little bit of a lower scoring game in this one. I don't think it's going to be high flying. I think both teams have really good defenses. I'm going to go Penn State on this one. Give me Penn State winning this one 21-17. I think this is going to be a slog in this one.
Okay, and see now, excuse me. Now we're back to different predictions because I got to go with Oregon. And here's what I'm going to say: Big Ten is known for these defensive matchups where you don't see the score break 20. And I love the idea of seeing a team like Oregon coming in and having a game like that. And I would actually like to see a game that's Big Ten football where the defenses are out and the defenders are showing up, and you're not seeing a lot of scores thrown. You might see some big plays offensively, but they don't turn into more than a field goal or possibly a touchdown. But you're going to see a lot of defense. I think we're going to see a lot of Penn State playing some classic Big Ten football. But I think Oregon is going to overpower them, and I think Oregon is going to end up winning. And I think Penn State is going to be under 20 points. I think Penn State absolutely stays under 20. Give me Penn State losing 17-28. I don't think Oregon's going to go absolutely insane and score 35-40. But I think, and you know what? I would even maybe venture to go a little lower and say 24-21. But I think it's going to be between 21 and 28 point victory for Oregon. I don't know where exactly to stop there because I think it could be 24, it could be 28, it could be 21. But I don't see them breaking 30, and I don't see Penn State breaking 20, but this could be flipped. I could see this absolutely flipped and Penn State having one more successful drive and ending up winning by a couple of points. But I just don't. I think I've got to give it to Oregon. I think Oregon is going to come in, and Oregon has proven the entire season that they're the real deal, not only in the conference, but in the entire college football. I mean, they have been a top-ranked team consistently. They've been one of the only consistent teams that's held their place. And so I've got to give it to Oregon. But at the same time, I absolutely do think Penn State's going to come to play. So I think Oregon wins but I think it's going to be a really hard-fought game. And I love your prediction because I love a little Big Ten football, some classic Big Ten football, and I think we could definitely see that too.
Yeah, I do too. My only question mark with Oregon, are we going to get the team that played up against Wisconsin that was extremely sloppy? If we get that, I have no problem in predicting Penn State. I don't think Oregon is going to go all high flying over Penn State. I think Penn State's got a pretty elite defense to kind of hold them back. But then again, Penn State a couple of weeks ago, they struggled against an improving Minnesota team and pulled out a 1-point win. So
it might go both ways a little bit.
It really could go both ways. It's really a coin flip game. Gonna be fascinating to watch this one tomorrow night. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna be in for I don't think we're gonna be in for an ugly game as far as score goes. I think it's gonna be really close and exciting, and I think it could come down to the last drive. We'll see. We'll see at 7:00 tomorrow night. Moving on to our last conference championship game. Got number 17 Clemson in a must-win situation against number 8 SMU. Again, first year's a new conference. It's a theme today. SMU came from the American Athletic Conference, and they came through and ran the table in the ACC. They look really good doing it, too. They're very prolific. Clemson, they're the mark of inconsistency all year long. Rattling off stats, we got Klubnik for Clemson, 258 for 402, 3,041 yards, 29 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Then you got Jennings for SMU, 196 for 294 for 2,746 yards, 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. You look at the rushing stats. Maffa for Clemson, 201 carries for 1,078 yards, 8 touchdowns. Smith for SMU, 193 carries for 1,157 yards, 14 touchdowns. You look at the receiving side. Williams for Clemson, 66 receptions, 788 yards, 10 touchdowns. Daniels Jr. for SMU, 30 receptions, 502 yards. It might not stand out. Like, SMU doesn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. They distribute the ball all over the place. They have no shortage of playmakers on their side of the ball, and it showed in the games that they've played. Clemson, they've got playmakers, but they are remarkably inconsistent. I mean, you look at the 12-point loss to Louisville. You look at the 3-point loss to South Carolina. Go Vols! Hey, they'll likely be in the playoff. They look good.
They actually finished the season throughout looking good. So they didn't do that last season. They had a really good start, and then we saw that middle and that drop off. So they look like they're actually going to make it all the way to the playoffs, and I can see them being a sleeper team going to the semis. So
very possible. But you look at Clemson, their losses to South Carolina and Louisville. SMU doesn't have any of those blemishes on their schedule, and they've taken care of business most every week. They've had some close games here and there. They had a tough game up against Duke. Duke was really good this year. They finished 9-3. And they took care of Pitt, who ended up being a relatively decent team. They took care of business against Boston College, who was a pretty decent team this year. They took care of business against Virginia, who all told was not very good. They didn't get bowl eligible. And then they whooped up on Cal, another team that is bowl eligible. I'm going to give the edge to SMU here. I think SMU wants to make a statement. I think Clemson's just been too inconsistent all year. I think SMU's got a little bit too much firepower for that Clemson defense. Give me SMU in this one, 35-21. I think SMU pulls out a 2-score victory in this one.
Well, I mean, you said it best. Definitely is not a good sign when your head coach is having trash thrown at him on the sideline. Clemson's head coach has had stuff thrown at him on the sideline. That's a terrible sign. And yes, you made it to your conference championship, but you were in championship talk a few years ago, and you're nowhere near that. I mean, you are. I mean, you are, but you're not in. You're not locked like you were before. So yes, are you near? Could they make it in? There's a chance, but they're not locked like they were before, and I don't see them making it in. And I mean, I don't see them beating SMU. You said it best. SMU has way too much firepower. This is a team that came from a lower tier conference and is proving that they belong in this conference. And I don't think this is going to be a one and done. I think we're going to see SMU in the top of this conference for years to come. So I think SMU proves they belong and proves themselves in this game. And I think they win, and I think they win big. I don't know if I've predicted a 40-point win yet, but I think give me SMU winning 42, give me 42-24. I will give Clemson, maybe they get a little field goal, score a couple touchdowns, but that's gonna, I mean, 42-24. I think SMU handles business, and I think that's the only game that I predicted to go up to 40. I could be wrong, but I think a lot of those games, the best part about this weekend is, and it's always a great weekend, but this feels like the closest it's been. It really does. It feels like every game is a coin flip. Um, I feel like every game, honestly, is a coin flip in some areas at least. Now, we could see some games be blowouts. We could see some games be larger predictions like we predicted, but I think these games are going to all be extremely close, except for possibly this one. I think this is the one where there'll be more separation. I think this is the exception. So, because I think Clemson is the most in of all the teams that have made a championship, I think Clemson not is the one that doesn't belong to be there or doesn't deserve to be there, but I don't think that they're the one that's going to get done. And I think they're going to be the one that gets exposed the most. Because they've already gotten exposed so many times this season. So I'm not trying to hate on Clemson. This is not a Clemson hate show, but they've put it on themselves this season with how they've played. And again, when your head coach is having stuff thrown on the sidelines, I don't care if you're making a conference championship. That's a really bad sign for where your team is at. So give me SMU proving they belong in this new conference and making this their home and making this and playoffs. I mean, that's crazy. We talked 2 weeks ago or whenever we did our last show, we briefly touched on a game they had and talked about how they were just on the outside looking in and just right there. And they've proven that they were able to make that jump and stay in this spot. So I think they're not gonna choke to Clemson because this is a choke. Clemson would be a choke if you lose to Clemson with how you've played. So give me SMU.
Yeah, I definitely think SMU is going to take care of business. It's going to be fascinating to watch all these conference championship games to see how they shake out because they have all of them have playoff implications involved. So should be fascinating. Should be a lot of good games. Yeah, I'm excited. Conference championship season is always one of the best weekends in college football. So. Yeah, it's very exciting. Moving on to our Husker segment, breaking down the season. I think even though they finished the season 1-5, I think getting the bowl drought off of their back, I think was huge. You look at Matt Rule, in college football, they kind of struggle to find their way in the first year. They make it to a bowl their second year, and then they really take a jump in year 3. Everybody thought going into this season, they finished 5-7 last year. Going into this season, they thought year 1 was more like a year 2. And they thought we would see a jump. And it kind of looked like we were going to see that jump when Nebraska started the season off 5-1. But they struggled down the stretch. But they were able to get that one win, and they did it in really good fashion over Wisconsin. They scored 44 points on offense, the most points scored in the Matt Rule era for Nebraska this year. The offense has actually shown remarkable improvement. As we all know, Marcus Satterfield was demoted, and Dana Holgerson came in to call plays for Nebraska, and we saw a little bit more efficiency in terms of moving the ball and scoring. And now Dana Holgerson signed a 2-year contract to be Nebraska's offensive coordinator the next 2 years. So without a doubt, I think Nebraska's offense this next year is going to be a little bit more prolific. And he wants to have a balanced attack, but I think they're going to be a little bit more pass heavy. And I think they're going to put up some really good stats this next year. On the defensive side of the ball, Tony White, he is going to move back down to Florida due to family reasons, and he's going to be coaching the defense at Florida State. Terrence Knighton, the D-line coach, he is also moving on. Rumor has it that he's going to be following Tony White down to Florida State. The thing with Florida State, there's no shortage of talent down there. It is easier to recruit that talent down there. And Florida State's in need of a makeover in a big way. They finished 2-10 this year. So yeah, they moved on. Coach McGuire for the wide receivers, he's not being retained. In fact, they already made the wide receiver coach hire in DeKel Shorts. He played under Dana Holgerson, was one of the more prolific West Virginia wide receivers at that time. He recently coached at Kentucky and has coached some really good wide receivers at Kentucky. Two receivers of which have entered the transfer portal, and Nebraska is likely going to be the favorite to pick them up as we get into transfer portal season. He brings Power 4 coaching experience, plus he knows Dana Holgerson, knows how he wants to run things. So, again, really good hire. They needed experience at the wide receiver coach room, and I think they got it here. Considering DeKel Short's playing experience, he knows what to do. Dana Holgerson, he's going to retain Coach Donovan Raiola for the O-line. And I don't know if they're retaining Marcus Satterfield to coach tight ends or not. Nothing has been said. But we'll definitely see. Moving on to their recruiting class this year. Their recruiting class was pretty good. It's number 21 according to 24/7 Sports. Let me pull up their. They got 11 4-stars, 9 3-stars committed. They're headlined by linebacker Dawson Merritt. He flipped from Alabama to Nebraska. His dad coaches. He's on the assistants coach list for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's going to be an easier drive for his dad to come up and visit him and watch him play. It's a 2.5-hour drive. And then it's headlined by another flip in Cortez Mills. Cortez Mills, playmaker out of Homestead, Florida. He was recently committed to Oklahoma. Nebraska did a really good job at locking him down. He's got a shot at getting on the field right away. Another one, 4-star D lineman Malcolm Simpson from Hitchcock, Texas. Big body, 6'3", 255 pounds. He's technically a D end. Extremely fast afoot. He's going to have some playing time. You look at Christian Jones from Omaha, Nebraska, played at Westside, the number 1 overall prospect in the state of Nebraska this year. Again, he's going to be really good. Isaiah Mosey, another flip. He was committed to Oregon, and then his dad got hired on at Nebraska on the staff. So he flipped his commitment from Oregon to Nebraska. He's a product out of Lee Summit, Missouri. Sean Hammerbeck from South Dakota, the number one overall number one overall player in South Dakota, offensive tackle, big body, 6'6", 260 pounds. He'll look good protecting Dylan Raiola, possibly this next year. You got TJ Lateef. They got their quarterback in this class. Very good quarterback. 6'1.5", 185 pounds. He has a big arm and he has legs, so he can run it. This next one was kind of a question mark going in because Missouri was kind of making a push for him. Jeremiah Jones, a big time playmaker. 6'4", 200 pounds. He is fast. He's 6'4" with 4.3 speed. So he should be pretty fun to watch. You've got Juju Marks out of Olathe, Kansas. Offensive tackle, another big body on that offensive line, 6'6", 290 pounds. Number 7 overall prospect in the state. Moving on, you've got Pierce Newberry, linebacker, 6'4", another big body, 200 pounds, number 3 overall prospect in the state of Nebraska, played at Millard North. Cade Peterzak, defensive lineman from North Dakota, 6'4", 250 pounds, number 1 overall prospect in the state of North Dakota. You got Bryson Weber out of Missouri City, Texas. Corner, 6'2.5", 175 pounds. He's extremely rangy. You've got Tyson Terry out of Omaha North, 6'2", 279 pounds. Number 4 overall prospect in the state of Nebraska. You've got Houston Kohana Torres out of Honolulu, Hawaii, 6'3", 265 pounds, number 2 overall prospect in the state of Hawaii. Jackson Carpenter, 6'2", 185-pound athlete, number 5 overall prospect in the state of Nebraska. Tanner Turk out of Littleton, Colorado, athlete, number 1 overall player in the state of Colorado. Jamarian Parker, playmaker at running back, out of St. Louis, Missouri. They've really locked down the state of Missouri pretty well this year. 6 foot, 185 pounds, extremely shifty, number 9 overall player in the state of Missouri. Brian Tapu, out of Salt Lake City, Utah, 6'7", 6'7" offensive tackle, 295 pounds, extremely big body. We need big bodies up front. He's the number 11 overall player in the state of Utah. You got Caden Vermas, safety from Millard North, 6 foot, 190 pounds, number 9 overall player in the state of Nebraska. And then you've got Connor Booth. Kind of crazy. I actually played up against this team in high school. Bishop Newman. They're a smaller school here in the state of Nebraska, and they, I believe, won the state championship. But Connor Booth, tough running back, 6'1". He has a lot of size to him, 212 pounds, number 12 overall prospect in the state of Nebraska. All in all, a very solid recruiting class. There are a lot of potential playmakers in this class. Do you have any takes on this class?
I mean, definitely one of the better ones we've seen, and we've seen Nebraska have pretty decent classes before, but we haven't seen them be turned into anything super successful. But we haven't seen this solid of a class. I mean, last class was really solid, and obviously it's been growing, but we have not seen, I think, this much buzz or this much, like, I think there's a lot of continuation and a lot of success that you can see when you look at this recruiting class. So I like it a lot. It puts good players around our quarterback. It puts good players on all sides of the ball, and it's super important that we start building up and getting that talent, and also maybe even pulling in some interested people once that the portals go in. I think we're going to get some talent that wants to come play with us. So I think there's a lot of buzz, and there should be, because this is by far the best class we've seen in a long time for Nebraska.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good class. It's they've only got 20 commits, but they've got a lot of quality in those 20 commits. And you mentioned the transfer portal. Dana Holgerson and Matt Rule, they want to bring in up to 30 transfer portal candidates on visits over the next couple of weeks as we get into bowl prep. So we could see quite a few transfer portal additions add to this class, and could have a top 15 class when all is said and done, when you combine transfer portal candidates and high school prospects. But you look at where the class sits now, it situates them sixth in the Big Ten, right behind Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Penn State. So you're in good company up in the top half of the Big Ten as far as recruits. Their overall rating on 24/7 is an 89.5. As we all know, recruiting rankings go by player ratings and stuff like that. So Nebraska is right on the fringe of having a 90 overall rating in the recruiting class, which is good. They need all the talent that they could get. I think they did that. I think this next year's class for Nebraska is going to be huge, because the high school prospect list in the state of Nebraska is going to be almost god tier. It may be one of the best Nebraska classes that we've seen as far as high school prospects go. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch what they do in the transfer portal. I think if they go out and win this bowl game, which I think they very well could, it's from what it's sounding like, it's going to be played in New York City for the New Era Pinstripe Bowl on December 28th at Yankee Stadium. So, and I heard possibly against Boston College.
Ooh,
so,
man.
So you got a little bit of an old helmet game there. As we all know, Doug Flutie played for Boston College way back in the day. And then Boston College has had some really solid teams, in the last 25 years. So should be an interesting matchup. We'll definitely see where Nebraska ends up as far as a bowl game goes on Sunday, which that's kind of fun for me to say, because it's been 8 damn years since Nebraska has made a bowl. So being able to finally get that monkey off of their back, I think we're going to see a team that plays loose. I think we're going to see an offense that may be a little bit more prolific in the bowl game as well. Should be fascinating to watch for sure. Where do you think Nebraska is going to go play in their bowl game?
I mean, that's a great question. I heard rumor you said, I didn't hear about the team, but I heard about the location and the bowl, and I hope it's in New York. That would be Boston College. I like that matchup. Obviously, Boston College is a pretty decent team, but I think we could definitely handle business. I think whatever team we're matched up against, we're going to be able to beat. Obviously, it's going to be a team that's pretty evenly matched up with us in several areas, but I really hope we play in a place like New York, and we play in a place that's fun for them for their first bowl game back in 8 years. Like you said, it's been 8 years. And so playing in like a fun location, I mean, there's so many bowl games now, but having one in a fun place where you can just, like you said, they're going to be loose, they're going to play relaxed, and we're going to see, another game with that not new offense, but like offense that's trying to build for something new and better. So I think we're going to see that, and they have plenty of time. If December 28th, if that's when it falls, they have plenty of time to get ready for that and to just enjoy the holidays, but also be ready for a really fun opportunity. So this is, man, being able to watch a bowl game again I don't want to say it's ridiculous that's exciting, because a lot of teams don't even get bowl games. A lot of teams have longer streaks or have worse seasons or just don't figure it out. Nebraska's turning a corner, it looks like, and doing the exact opposite. It took us long enough. Honestly, I will say it took us a little bit too long, but we're doing it. So that's all that matters. And I think we'll see the Huskers playing for something bigger when they play that bowl game. So I'm really excited. Boston College, I haven't heard any rumored matchups, but that one, I like that one a lot. I think that'd be a fun game, and I think we'd see a decently high-scoring game from both teams, possibly.
Yeah, I do too. Moving on, I'm going to break down their schedule this next year. Only 3 dates are set in stone. August 30th of 2025, Nebraska plays Cincinnati. They're changing the location to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, which I believe you're moving back out here pretty soon. We should get tickets and go to that game. That'll be fun as all hell.
Amazing, bro. That'd be awesome.
Nebraska the next week plays at home against Akron. Hopefully it doesn't get stormed out again this year like it did a few years ago under Frost.
That was a sign.
But that was a little bit of a sign, I think. Nebraska plays Akron at home. They should be able to take care of business against Cincinnati and Akron. Nebraska plays at home against Houston Christian. Nebraska's probably going to take care of business against Houston Christian, without a doubt. The Big Ten schedule is not all set, so this is going to be a little bit out of order. Nebraska plays Iowa at home. Nebraska plays Michigan at home. Nebraska plays Michigan State at home. Nebraska plays Northwestern at home. Nebraska plays USC at home. And then Nebraska goes on the road to Maryland. They go on the road to Minneapolis to play Minnesota. They go on the road to play Penn State. Then they have to go to the Rose Bowl and play up against UCLA. All in all, it's a solid schedule. They should be able to make a little bit of noise this next year. I think we're going to see a pretty sizable jump because of the talent we have coming in. Plus, we're losing all the players with that have had that losing mentality the last 7-8 years. So you're getting players that come in here that know nothing but winning. Mm-hmm. I think that's it's gonna change everything. That's a schedule I could see Nebraska winning 8-9 games next year, maybe 10. We'll definitely have to see. Obviously that's barring any injuries during workouts, fall camp. But if they can avoid all the injuries, which they've done a pretty decent job with this year in general, they haven't had any major injuries during the season. It's a favorable schedule. Do you have any takes on their upcoming schedule for next year?
I like that we're missing a few teams that we had this season. Not that I think we proved that we could take Ohio State when we weren't even playing our best offense or playing our best football. I think we could do it, but I like this schedule more. I like our home games. I think we proved this season that we're a sizable team at home. Now, again, we had some not fantastic games at home, and a great example of that would be UCLA. And that was really the biggest game at home that was a disappointment. And then you had a game like Wisconsin, which was a huge, that's how we got our bowl berth. And it was a big game. So we've seen it all this season. I think we're going to see, we're going to those first 4 games of the season. Come on now. Those first 4 games, if we don't, especially after how we started those first 4 games this season, and how we played, and how we looked overall as a team, especially in those first 2 and 3, I thought 3 actually, we're gonna 4-0, and then I mean Minnesota looked pretty good this year. Not great, but they had some upsets and they had some games where they looked really good against sizable opponents. I think they'll be a better team next season. I think that'll be a really good matchup for us, but I think we'll win. I think we'll beat Iowa, and I think we'll beat the brakes off of Iowa at home. I don't think it'll be a 13-10 or even a field goal scenario. I think we'll win by 10 to 14 points, and that's beating the brakes off of one team, especially with how the games have gone the last 2 seasons. So I think we handle business. Again, I don't see a team we don't handle business against. So I think we do finish with 8 to 9 wins. I'm right there with you, and I think there's a possible. Percentage wise, I would give us a 80 to 90% chance to win 8 and like a 70% chance to win 9, and then I'd give us a 50 to 60% chance to win 10 just as of now, because I don't want to say it's hard for me to believe we'll be consistent a whole season, but I need to see us start consistent and just keep that. We had a consistent start, and then we had some fall offs in certain areas, and I need to see us start that season and see that consistency. But I really think we will see it, and we've seen it. Now the Iowa game wasn't the greatest. It wasn't. Now there is some questionable action with it, as there has been with reffing in Big Ten games with the Huskers before. It's not the first time there's been overlooked situations. I mean, not to make excuses, but there definitely has been. Again, there has been overlooked stuff. This game, not as much as other games, but there's been. It feels like that, at least for sure. I know other teams can probably share that feeling, not just in the Big Ten, but we've looked a lot more consistent, and that Wisconsin game was a huge, because like you said, Wisconsin, not a great team, but they played teams hard this season and had some okay games, and the fact that we were able to get that bowl game against them and really I mean, Wisconsin's beat us before in bigger games, and so it's nice to beat them. It's nice in the Big Ten when you have that. I mean, we've been in the Big Ten for a minute. It's so nice to have to pull that win off, and that's a big boost. So I'm really excited. I don't know if we're moving on from our Husker segment, but if we are, before we do, obviously we still have our bowl game. We don't know where we're set at yet. But what would you give? I think we did one at the first episode of the show, maybe. What's a letter grade you would give for the Huskers regular season?
I would say probably a C+ to B-. The ultimate goal this year was to make a bowl. Something that they haven't done in 8 years. They got that accomplished. The only reason why I would give it a C+, they finished the season, or started the season, 5-1. And they literally had everything in front of them to play for. Then the game against Indiana happened. And then the ball really got rolling after that. And that's something we didn't need. As the season came to a close, the final 6 games, they should not have slid as much as they did in the final 6 games. And that goes with the consistency part of the conversation, is that they were inconsistent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Dana Holgorsen comes in, coaches the offense. We see a little bit more consistency. I mean, it showed out, especially in the Wisconsin game, where they dropped 44 points and they won that game handily. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the team that we saw in the Wisconsin game this next year. Because Dana Holgorsen, he's a winner. I think the offense is going to put up quite a few points this next year. It'll probably be a top 5 offense in the Big Ten this next year. As far as the defense goes, I think the defense is going to be probably about the same as we saw it this year. I do think they've got a little bit more speed coming into next year on defense. So I think they'll fly to the ball a little bit more. I think we're going to see a mix of the 3-3-5 still. I think they're going to play a lot of 4-down linemen too. I think they're going to play a little bit of the 4-3. So it's going to be a multiple defense. I think all in all, I think we're going to see a better, more consistent team this next year. I'm excited to see what Dylan Raiola looks like in his second year at quarterback. I think he's going to be in for a pretty big year. He had the best year of all freshman quarterbacks in the country this year. So I would not be shocked if Dylan Raiola this next year is a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten. I would not be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the number 1 quarterback in the Big Ten. So yeah, it all banks on like what they do this offseason. I think they're going to get quite a few transfer portal additions to come in, some veterans. And there's no shortage of them. All these teams have to drop down to 105 on their roster. They can only have 105 people on their roster at a time. And we're seeing a lot of transfer portal additions, go in. And a lot of them, they're big-time playmakers. So you get a few of them in, that definitely changes a lot too. So what are your takes on all of it?
I mean, I was very disappointed in the last 6 games, like you said. We had a really rough stretch, and it's pretty similar to how we started. We had a pretty good stretch his first year, too. Not good, but pretty good his first year. And then a really disappointing end and missed a bowl. The difference is we made a bowl, and it was just different. It wasn't the exact same. So giving it a letter grade, I would go C- to just C, but I'm going to give it a C. I'm not going to go C- because of how we played against Wisconsin and because the Iowa game was the Iowa game. It's a rivalry. It's
bound to be ugly.
It's bound to be ugly, exactly. And it has been the last 2 seasons, and it's been down to the end, and it's not gone in our favor, and it's been disappointing. But I think we beat the brakes off of them our next go around, and I think that is more than. And the fact that it's a Memorial Stadium, is super exciting. I mean, I've been to 2 or 3 Memorial Stadium Iowa games. Maybe it's only 2, but definitely 3. One of them was it was snowing and extremely cold, or at least it had snowed and was freezing. So it's a great memory. It's a good game, and so excited for that. But I'm going to go with a C. I'm going to go with a C because we started off super consistent. We started off people were talking about us. I mean, we had a ranking, and we haven't had a ranking in forever. And I mean, it's not been super, super long, I suppose, but it's been long enough. And so it felt really good to get there. And then it was like waking up and being right back where we were. That's how it felt for a couple of games. But there was a big reason for that. And the thing that Matt Rule did is he handled it. Scott Frost, where there were holes and issues that he probably could have tried to fix while he was there, and it might have made his time there a little bit better. He didn't do that. He was too busy partying with the students. But no, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but either way, he wasn't focused. He was busy doing something. So Matt Rule is focused on making this team a playoff team and making this team a championship team and a team that dominates conference. And you can tell. So he took care of business with this offensive coordinator situation. And yes, the coach is leaving. It's not all Matt Rule's like choosing this, but a lot of it probably is Matt Rule coaxing them in a different direction and saying that he wants this team to be in the right direction and he has to upgrade a little bit. And so Matt Rule, and he's a motivator. I mean, I do think people don't take into account that I think he honestly, if we're playing college football 25, you've got motivator, recruiter, and I don't remember what the third one is, but he has all 3. I think he has all team building. Well, I don't know what it is, but he has all 3. He motivates. He's got that motivational quality to him. He's a good recruiter, and I think he's got that depth to him. So I don't think people give him enough credit. Obviously, he hasn't had, a playoff run with us. He hasn't had a conference champ, but I think that's coming, and it could be next season. It could be next season we see ourselves in a conference championship. but we need to see that consistency. So I'm giving us a C. I'm excited for the future. I think Husker football and the recruiting class, how we started the Husker segment. The recruiting class is a really big testament to where we're going with this team. So really excited about Husker football. Obviously, by the time we do our next episode, the bowl game will be set. And I assume it'll be pre-bowl game whenever that is. So we'll touch up on what that's going to look like and touch up on the bowl game. But it would be awesome to see us in a prolific area in a place like New York, or just a really fun spot for those dudes, because they definitely deserve it. So shout out to the Huskers. We'll definitely touch more on them next episode and every episode. And if there's ever anything you guys want us to touch on with the Huskers, or a certain player, or certain anything, let us know, because I know we have quite a few Husker fans that tune in. Moving on, though, we're going to do a quick little Heisman, our final Heisman check-in. And if there's any other awards we want to check in, we'll briefly touch on those too. But for Heisman, we're not going to waste time with the top 3, top 2. We're just going to go at who we think is going to win it, because now, it's pretty much set. It's going. The games that happen now don't really have an implication on it. Obviously, every game people are looking and watching, but when we talk about Heisman, this is who we think wins it. This will be our 3rd time touching in on this subject on this show, and it's changed each time. We've had 2 of the same people on it on each one, but the last one we had a different face. So what I will say is, who's getting invited, who's going. Obviously Gianti's going. Obviously Travis Hunter is going. Is three correct? It's not 4, it's 3, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And I think it's Dylan Gabriel, but I could be wrong. I can't really place that 3rd one. I could be Cam Ward. It's very hard to say, but I know it's going to be Gianti. I know it's going to be Travis Hunter. Who's winning it? It's got to be Travis Hunter. Gianti has had a video game season, and because of that, I really do see them possibly giving it to him. But when you ask me who I think should win it and who I think will win it, I think it's Travis Hunter. And if he does not, wait for the rant and the video that Dion is going to put out, or the interview that Dion is going to put out. And it's going to be not anything crazy that's disrespectful, but it's going to be something theatrical, because – and I agree with him. I think he should Travis Hunter, because of what he can do on both sides of the football, is absolutely in the talk for being not one of the best college football players all time, possibly, but definitely being in the talks for at his positions and what he's able to do. And it's so difficult to be a two-way football player once you get up to that. Obviously, in high school, a lot of players are playing both sides of the ball. You don't see that in college very often, and it's special. And Travis Hunter does it on a level that I don't think we've seen since, we haven't seen it in a long, long time. We haven't seen it since the 90s. We truly haven't seen a two-way player, in my personal opinion, like this since the 90s. And we know who that was. That was a player that had an insane run and a Heisman run in. So give me Travis Hunter winning the Heisman. Who do you have winning it?
I've got Travis Hunter as well. You said it beautifully. We haven't seen a two-way player like Travis Hunter in such a long time. He's put up a lot of stats receiving the ball. He's also put up a lot of stats on the defense too. Just easily. He's going to be easily the winner this year. I think Gianti's going to be right behind him, which is a bummer because Gianti had quite the year. But just the fact that we haven't seen a two-way player of Travis Hunter's, caliber in so long, it's crazy. Being able to play, 100 plus snaps every game takes a lot of energy to do that. So, I think it's pretty easy.
No, it is. It's not as difficult as it could be. I think I will say Gianti and Travis Hunter are way closer than that. Whoever's going to be in that third seat, I think it's going to be. You can look at it both ways. What I will say is, I don't want to say when you look at opponents, but Travis Hunter's been matched up against some more prolific teams than Gianti has been, and there's nothing against Gianti. We've seen countless running backs go up against these teams and not pull off the yards like Gianti. And Gianti is a player. I mean, he is the best running back we have seen in a long time, and he is going to dominate the NFL when he makes his way in there. He is going to be a dominating Derrick Henry type of running back that I think is going to have instant success with whatever team he goes to. So I think he is in a league of his own, but I think it's Travis Hunter. So if Travis Hunter loses it, I won't be shocked because of who's up second with Gianti, but I just think I think it's Travis Hunter's award. And he proved that. And now he did, obviously there was I don't want to say an injury scare, but he had an injury potential, honestly, several times during the season. But dude finished the season. He played the last few games and had great games and proved and made his Heisman. He made his Heisman campaign. He closed it. I really think he closed it and he made his case known. So Travis Hunter, I mean, we'll touch back in once it's been called, but I think we'll be saying Travis Hunter when it's all said and done.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. We have not seen a player like Travis Hunter a little bit more often. Like, obviously there's a lot of players that wanna he wants to most players want to play on both sides of the ball. But a lot of the time you can't, and the fact that Travis Hunter was able to it's incredible. I don't like Colorado, but I have the utmost respect for what Travis Hunter has done for that program. And yeah, he's easily the top overall Heisman choice for most people, I think.
Easily. Speaking of Travis Hunter, this isn't Heisman related, but this is Colorado related. We'll just really quickly. Do you think, because there's talk that Deion Sanders leaves Colorado, do you think there's any truth to Deion either following his son to the NFL or trying to follow his son to the NFL? Or do you think, I mean, didn't they get the top quarterback in the class? Didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, so do you think that this is a sign that Deion is staying? Do you think he's going to pack up and leave like he has before?
That's going to be a very interesting thing to watch. I honestly think he's done at Colorado. I think he's going to have a chance to coach in the NFL. I honestly really do. I think he's going to. I could see them going to New York with the Giants. I can honestly see that happening. With all the turmoil that the Giants have going on, I could definitely see Deion and Shedeur up in New York.
So you think they will be a package deal wherever he goes?
I think it's very possible.
I think it is too, and I think that they'll be able to do that because of who Deion is and what he was to the NFL. And I mean, look at what he's done for several different programs now, even starting with high school teams. He took over some high school teams. He's been coaching Shedeur since high school. It's pretty obvious that he knows how to coach Shedeur and that they have a good connection and that he knows how to coach. I mean, some parents that coach their kids, even high school, college, there's that attachment and that connection that can be negative, but it doesn't seem like they have that. They can distinguish it and separate it and be coach and athlete on the field. So, and have that connection when it's needed to, that father-son. So I don't know who it was. It's always an unnamed NFL exec when they post that stuff, but someone said that they think it will be better if they are not together, but they do think that Deion will end up in the NFL. I don't know. I don't see Deion staying, especially since Travis Hunter is also. If Travis Hunter had one more season, and his other son is also graduating, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, he's out of there. He's all about his kids, which there's nothing wrong with that. I honestly think that that's pretty cool. I respect that, and I think that's awesome. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and it's worked with football. Obviously, it's not like a LeVar Ball situation where that would have him coaching them in college and pros would have absolutely never worked. So it's definitely been a success story. I mean, it's Deion Sanders, that dude, one of the best two-way football players and multi-sport athletes of all time, if not, I don't want to say the best because there's Bo Jackson, there's other ones, but he definitely is up there. So I just wanted to ask you that because I just saw that yesterday and it's interesting. We'll have to follow that timeline. Honestly, I think we'll know sooner than later. I mean, I don't think it'll be before the bowl game, but I think we'll know sooner than later. I think he'll be if they win or they lose, I think he'll cryptically say he's leaving in his post, or he'll make reference. You know how he is. He says those poetic whatever. He'll say something. I feel like he'll post or say something because I think he did that after the Jackson after his last conference championship win or something. He kind of hinted at leaving. So I'm pretty sure that'll happen if it happens. And if it does, if he stays, it'll be super interesting to see if they become a playoff team next season. And even if he leaves, Colorado might be a playoff team to look at next season.
Oh, absolutely. Because they've got a really good class going in too. So they've got a lot of difference makers on the recruiting class. So
Absolutely.
if Dion reiterates that he's going to stay in Colorado, they could be a very dangerous team in the Big 12 this next year, for sure.
100%.
Moving on to our final. Was it final? No, college football playoff predictions. You want to take us or take? Do you want to go ahead and give your playoff predictions real quick?
Yes, absolutely. So hold on, let me get I just had it pulled up. Playoff bracket. Okay. So yes, so I mean, college football playoffs. What's exciting about this is it's going to be the first time we're seeing 12 teams. This is also the first time we're going to see, I think, this wide variety of different teams going up to bat for the same goal, which is that championship. Starting with the current one, which is Ohio State and Tennessee. I don't see that changing. That's a lock. I'm pretty sure. I made a call earlier when Big Orange commented "Go Vols." I think Tennessee beats Ohio State. I think Tennessee is a better team. I think Tennessee is a proven team that, like I said, they've been consistent from start to finish. So give me Tennessee winning, and then that would match them up against Oregon. Oregon is a solid team, but I think Tennessee is absolutely the team to go head to head against them and make it a game that would be a score to two scores at the most. And I think Tennessee would win. So that has Tennessee into my semis. Looking back at the first round, we've got Penn State and Arizona State right now. I think Penn State would pull this off. I really do. I think Penn State is a stronger team and a more proven team. So I think Penn State wins it. I don't have Boise State losing to UNLV. I think Boise State is going to be the stronger team. And so I think it will be Boise State keeping their place. Boise State, Penn State. I mean, this would be, I don't want to say a game that would expose Penn or Boise State, because we've seen a team of the similar caliber to Boise State play Penn State and make it a game. But I think Boise State would absolutely not be able to keep up with Penn State. So then that's got Tennessee and Penn State in my semis. And between those two teams, I definitely am going with Tennessee. So that has me picking Tennessee in my final. And then looking at the other side, Georgia versus Indiana. Again, there could be some stuff that changes with who's ranked where with the losses or the wins, but I think Indiana wins. People are seeming to start to discredit Indiana a little bit too much. I still think that they're that team, even though they've obviously not fizzled out, but have not looked. They didn't solidify themselves as the Big Ten championship competing team, and they're not that team in that sense. But against Georgia, a team that has proven they're inconsistent, and a team that maybe we'll see where they even fall. Give me Indiana winning, but that's the end of the line. Texas versus Indiana. Texas wins. Alabama versus Notre Dame is interesting. I don't want Alabama to be in it, but I want them to get absolutely clapped by Notre Dame, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to see Alabama and Georgia lose in the first round, but I think SMU pulls it off versus Notre Dame. And then listen to this, Texas versus SMU. That is beautiful. That is amazing. That's two Texas teams head to head. Give me Texas. So my championship prediction, give me Tennessee versus Texas, Battle of the Oranges. I think it's very possible that happens. Obviously, that could switch. Give me your predictions.
I think this is going to be a very interesting it's going to be very interesting to see how things shake out. If we were to rattle off what they have now, we'll start at the number 8 and 9 seeds in Ohio State and Tennessee. I would have to go with Tennessee in that, or not Tennessee. I'll go with Ohio State on that one. I think that would be a really good game. It would be in Knoxville if things were to start today. But I do think Ohio State has a few more playmakers. I think they can make a little noise. And then you move down to the 5 versus 12. You got Penn State, Arizona State as of right now. But if Iowa State wins, Iowa State would be in that 12 seed. I would go with Penn State. They've got more talent. I think the defense is a little bit more elite. So give me Penn State on that one. Moving on to the 7 versus 10. We got Georgia going to Bloomington, Indiana, which that would be quite a sight. Indiana hosting a playoff game. With Georgia's inconsistencies, I would not be shocked if Indiana were to pull that one out. Georgia's defense is nowhere near as good as they have been the last couple of years. I think there's a lot of plays to be made. I think Indiana can make those plays. So I would take Indiana there. Moving on to Notre Dame, Alabama. Alabama's a team that I don't think should be in. They've been incredibly inconsistent. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Notre Dame's played some of the best football in the country ever since their loss to Northern Illinois earlier in the year. I would have to go with Notre Dame. And then obviously you have your top 4 seeds, which I think these ones are going to hold steady. You've got number 1 Oregon. Unless Penn State were to beat Oregon, Oregon would be your number 1 team. Boise State, they got to win to stay in that bye situation. But I do think Boise State will probably take care of business tonight up against UNLV. They would stay at the 4, and they would play the winner of Penn State, Arizona State. And the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee would play Oregon. Moving on over to your 2 overall seed, which is Texas. The winner of Georgia, Indiana would play Texas. And then the winner of Notre Dame, Alabama moves and plays SMU. I don't think there's going to be a shortage of really good games. If I were to choose who's going to win it all today, I think Oregon. I think Oregon's the number 1 team for a reason. I like their defense. I like what they do on offense. I think Dylan Gabriel is having a hell of a year. He's going to be in New York City as a Heisman finalist. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be in a shortage for good games this year.
Oh no, this is going to be, and the fact that it's 12, some people wish it was more, some people wish it was less. I am somewhere in the middle. I don't wish it was more. I love playoff football, and I think it's great that we're getting it, and so I wouldn't mind seeing even more of it, but I think 12 is perfect. But I also wouldn't mind it less. 4 wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to just do a semi and a championship. That didn't seem like enough for a playoff format. So I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they switched it up, and I think it's going to be exciting. And I'm ready to see this change for college football because I think it's a positive one. So this is an example of sports. And when we did the Connor and Heffernan show and talked all sports, we talked about some sports that were not making necessary changes and making like improvements and advancements. And I think college football really is. So shout out to college football for this 12 team format and just for giving more teams a shot. And shout out to the fact that we don't even know this isn't final. I mean, what the list we just gave could switch up. So it could change at any moment. It is still going. I mean, as we speak, it's going to be decided on. Will Georgia and Alabama be in? Probably. Should they be in? I don't think Alabama should be in. Georgia, I guess, makes a little bit more sense, but I don't think Alabama should be in. But I do think we're going to see another year of them, people saying they shouldn't be in and them getting in. But time will tell, and we will when we check back in, it will be set. It'll be final. So we will definitely check back in on that final list and give our predictions from there. Moving on to our last segment of today's show. It is our top 5 segment of the show. And today we've looked at top 5 best defensive players of college football. Now we're going to look at the top 5 best players overall on all sides of the ball currently in college football. I'm going to start with my list rattling off. Going at number 5, I've got Kelvin Banks from Texas, offensive tackle. There's no secret that Texas has been extremely successful this season. And when he's been on the field, when he's been able to play, he's a big reason for that. This team has relied heavily on both sides of the football being even and both sides of the football having balance, and he provides a big part of that. So I could not make a list without putting him on there, but there's a lot of other players. I had an honorable mentions list, but then it was literally like 10 to 15 people, so I'm not even going to go through it. I'm just going to say he made my list, but there's a lot of other players that could have easily interchanged for my 5. So that's my number 5. Who do you have sitting at 5?
I've got Kelvin Banks too. You really can't make a top 5 list without putting him on here for this season. You said it beautifully. Texas wanted to be a balanced attack, and Kelvin Banks helps bolster up that offensive line. So he protects the quarterback very well, and he will open up a run lane for the running back. Definitely the best offensive lineman this season by far.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Coming in at number 4, I've got to go with Abdul Carter, defensive end for Penn State. Obviously, one of the defensive leaders for that team. And Penn State, there's been a lot of bounce around. And college football, there's a lot of bounce around always with the playoff, with the standings and who's where. But there's been a lot of bounce around in the Big Ten in every conference. And the Penn State, the Nittany Lions have stayed pretty consistent. I mean, they've had some games where they haven't looked the best, but record-wise and like side of the ball wise, they've stayed pretty consistent. And Abdul Carter's a huge part of that. So he's a big leader for this defense. And if they go even to just the second round, a big part of that will be because of him and what he's doing in the game, because that's always been the case. He's a huge part of their defense, and he's a huge focal point for the entire team. But I mean, that dude is the defense in a lot of ways. So I've got to go with Abdul Carter. Who do you got at your number 4?
I've got Abdul Carter as my number 4. I think what he's done as a defensive lineman for Penn State, one of the best rush ends in college football by far. He's helped that defense kind of approach that elite status. Easily number 4.
Absolutely. Number 3, I've got to admit, I wrote the wrong name on my list. I wrote Cam Ward, but I can't put Cam Ward because this is not just – yes, this is player success, but this is also team success. So I got to go Dylan Gabriel because Oregon – if I'm talking about a quarterback, I mean, my top 3 list is essentially the Heisman, who I think is going to be on the Heisman stage. I've got to be honest. And Dylan Gabriel is number 3 on that list for me. So I've got to go Dylan Gabriel number 3. Oregon You said it best I could easily see them being a team that possibly makes it all the way to the championship and possibly wins it because they have been that team this entire season. They have been probably the most consistent team. So I've got to go with I'm going to go with Dylan Gabriel as my number 3. There's a couple of other quarterbacks that are right there, but definitely I wrote in Cam Ward, and I can't give him that 3 spot. I've got to give it to Dylan Gabriel because of the team success, and team success is usually driven by quarterback success.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Dylan Gabriel as well. Dylan Gabriel has been extremely consistent all year. Oregon as a whole has been one of the more consistent teams all season long. There's a reason why they're undefeated at 12-0. And he's going to be a Heisman finalist. So you got to put him at number 3.
Absolutely. Coming in at number 2, it's no surprise. These are the best of the best. Ashton Gianti is my number 2, best running back in college football. Possibly the best we've seen in a couple of seasons, and maybe even more than a couple of seasons. Reaching the numbers he's reached is not something that's done usually, and there's probably running backs that could do it, but he literally put this team on his backs several games and just went all out. So he went ballistic. So I've got to go Gianti at my 2. What about you?
I'm going to go Gianti too. He's putting up video game numbers. Like, the numbers he's putting up is what I usually do with my running backs in college football 25. He's incredible to watch. I think he's going to be in for another pretty big game tonight against UNLV. I would not be shocked if he ran for 160 plus yards again tonight. Maybe bolster up his Heisman odds a little bit. He could put himself into position tonight to possibly win the whole thing. We'll see. But yeah, Ashton Gianti's easily number 2.
Well, I think it's no secret who number 1 is going to be for both of us. It's got to be Travis Hunter. Best two-way player we've seen in years and possibly ever. If he wins the Heisman, I would say ever, probably. Not that hasn't been reached for or accomplished before by a similar player, but just because I think he set himself apart, and a Heisman would set that apart. So I've got to go with Travis Hunter as the number 1.
Yeah, Travis Hunter's easy number 1. You got a player that plays almost 200 snaps a game. The amount of endurance and the amount that you have to work out to stay fit to, play that many plays. All that stamina that you're going to have. Like, it's crazy, and he's putting up some pretty gaudy numbers on both sides of the ball.
No, he is. He's showing up and showing out for his team for sure every game.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts today?
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. As always, if you have any top 5 ideas I do have a couple TikTok DMs about some ideas that I need to get to for top 5s. But any top 5 ideas you guys ever have, please let us know. We always appreciate the comments and the ideas, or any segment ideas you have in general. We are going to obviously have a couple more shows before college football season is done. We will discuss our schedule and figure out what works best, but we definitely will be talking to you guys about playoff football. We'll be talking to you guys about awards once they've been given out. We'll be talking to you guys about bowl games next season. So we'll be giving you guys a little more college football before the end of it, before it's all said and done. But thank you guys so much for tuning in as always, and I look forward to our next show.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Like Montana said, if you guys have any recommendations for top 5 lists, drop them down in the comments. Hit us up on our socials. We'll do our best to get to all of them. The bowl schedule should likely be set up by Sunday. So that should give us something to talk about this next week if we can get on and talk about it. But yeah, as always, we appreciate you guys for watching and listening, and we will see you guys next time. Enjoy the college football conference championship slate.
Yep. Have a good conference championship weekend, everybody.